everyone, my name is Ingrid and welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to show you my first impressions on a product that has been really hyped and at the same time has been really controversial, and it's the NARS Narsissist eyeshadow palette. When I first heard of this eyeshadow palette coming out, I was extremely excited. I don't actually own any single NARS eyeshadows, which is pretty amazing, but I do own several other NARS products, and I have been enjoying them so much that I really wanted to give their eyeshadows a go. So when I found out that this eyeshadow palette was coming out, I thought, wow, this is my opportunity to get to try some of their most well-known and favourite eyeshadows. So I'm going to show you the eyeshadow palette, and it comes in this black case. Well, this is a cardboard case, and inside we have another protecting case and the eyeshadow palette. So as you can see, it's the same format as their usual eyeshadows and blushes and bronzer. So this is this rubbery black casing that they usually have. As you can see, it's an absolutely lovely size. I think it's absolutely brilliant for taking on holidays, and this type of casing does tend to get quite mucky, but I must say that I actually really like the NARS casing. I think it's really sleek and it looks really good, so I don't really have many complaints, and as I'm quite a person who keeps things quite clean, mine don't tend to get very dirty anyway, because I keep them in their boxes and I keep them all nicely separated. But anyway, maybe that's a little bit obsessive. But nevertheless, I think it's quite a nice palette, and I do like the fact that they've played with the NARS name, NARS Narsissist, because we're slightly narcissist, worrying so much about our beauty, aren't we? But anyway, so as for shape and size, I think it's really good. And then we open it here. It's got quite a good clasp to keep it closed, and inside we have a very large mirror. It's actually very heavy. This side is heavier than this one because the mirror seems quite heavy, and it's really good size and really good quality mirror. So you can travel just with this case, and you wouldn't need anything else. So I'm very happy basically with the casing. And there are 15 small pans, and they're all neutral eyeshadows. So for those of you who are neutral lovers, this palette is a really good option. And when I saw it, I really liked the fact that there seemed to be quite a variation of different types of neutrals. So it's not just warm-toned neutrals or cool-toned neutrals, and it's not just like one range of colours, like only browns or only taupes or or only pinks, like the Urban Decay Naked 3 palette. This palette has browns and taupes and even some purple-toned shadows and green-toned shadows. It has quite a nice range of different types of eyeshadows. So if you don't have a single neutral eyeshadow palette, this is quite a good one to have a look at, in my opinion anyway. Now onto the eyeshadows themselves. There are 15 small pans in here, and the 15 eyeshadows that are here are all eyeshadows that they have released previously, so there aren't any new ones at all. And all of them are very well-known eyeshadows. So the names are not actually on the palette whatsoever, but I will read you out the list of eyeshadows that are in here, just in case you want to check whether you have them or you don't have them. The first row of eyeshadows includes All About Eve, Madrague 2, Fez, Bali and Coconut Grove. The second row of eyeshadows includes Madrague 1, Nepal, Ashes to Ashes, Bruce and Mekong. And the last row of eyeshadows, which is the bottom one, includes Bellisima, Laza, Bad Behaviour, Dogon and Pandora. Very well known. So the point of this is, if you already own some of these eyeshadows, perhaps this palette is not really worth it for you. The other thing that I have noticed quite quickly is that you do have very light colours or very dark colours. There are a few colours that are mid-tone, but most of them really are either very light or very dark. And this, for some people, has been a bit of a problem. That's not what they most liked. But if you are a smoky eye lover, you will really appreciate all those different toned dark colours in this eyeshadow palette. So when this first came out, the first people who started to receive this eyeshadow palette, I heard very mixed results. Some people liked it and other people thought it was very disappointing. Unfortunately, I don't own any other NARS single eyeshadows or duo eyeshadows, so I will not be able to compare them to singles or duos, which is a pity, because like that I could actually really tell you whether I think the quality is better or worse than the single eyeshadows. Nevertheless, I have tried to compare them as best as I could with other eyeshadows from other companies, say Urban Decay, MAC, and even Bobbi Brown. And obviously maybe the colours were maybe not exactly the same, but I have been able to compare them and to see whether the pigmentation was as good, better or worse than other eyeshadows from other makes. And I think that was the main issue that people had with it, the lack of pigmentation. From the swatches that you've seen is that definitely the light coloured eyeshadows from this palette, unless you have a darker skin tone than I have, will not show up very well. The pigmentation is actually quite poor. I do think that the pigmentation is better on the eyelid than on my skin on the arm. I don't know why. They do seem to perform better on the eyelid. But nevertheless, if you compare them to Urban Decay or to MAC, like I did, it is true that in the swatches, they perform much worse. As for the darker and the mid-tone eyeshadows, these are just the same quality or even better than some of the other brands. So in the case of the dark eyeshadows, I do think that they're even better. They performed better than the Urban Decay and the MAC. And the mid-tone ones, they performed basically exactly the same. I was actually surprised to find out that I have other shades from other makes that are very similar to these, and they do perform quite similarly. Obviously, I'm not able to tell you whether the single or the duo eyeshadows would perform better than MAC or than Urban Decay, but in my case, for me, the only important thing is that if they're just as good as Urban Decay or as MAC, well then it's not a bad eyeshadow palette, and I will use it a lot and I will get use out of it. Obviously this review is a first impressions. I haven't been able to use this very many days. I've only used it for 3 days, creating different looks. As you could see in the look that I created, they are very blendable, they're easy to use. If you are a beginner and you haven't got any neutral eyeshadow palettes, this could be a good thing to look into. And in my case, I think I will be very, very happy with this palette. I think it'll be the one that I'll take on holidays. I think it's excellent for traveling because with this one, I don't think you need anything else. You don't need to take any others. I have traveled with the Urban Decay Naked 2 palette, and even though I think it's an absolutely wonderful palette, you can get a bit bored with the set of colours when you're on holiday and you don't have anything else to choose from, because they're all quite cool toned and they're all in the same range of colours. They're either browns or taupes, and that's it. As for the Urban Decay Naked 3, that palette is out at the same time more or less as this one now, and it's the other palette that everyone is raving about, and I have them both. Which one would I get, this one or the Naked 3? Well, that's really up to you. If you consider that pink or pink toned or purple toned eyeshadows look good in your eyes, on your complexion, then I do think that the Naked 3 palette is a really special palette in the sense that it's the first one that I see that it only deals with rose and rose gold and rose taupe colours. Nevertheless, all the different looks that you can get from Naked 3 are all very similar. They all have that rosy theme. Whereas with this NARS eyeshadow palette, because you do have some browns and some blacks and some purples and some greens, I think you can get neutral looks, but they can tend towards different colours. So you can make them look a little bit purplier or a little bit pinker or a little bit. So I do think that you have a wider range of neutral colours to play with here. So overall, it's a difficult decision. I like it. I actually really like it. I don't like the lighter tones. I think they could be more pigmented, especially on my very light skin. Perhaps if my skin tone was a bit darker, they would show up a little bit better. But unfortunately, in my case, I'm so pale that some of these lighter ones barely show up on my skin, as you saw on the swatches. I'm very happy I purchased it. I would purchase it again if I didn't have it, obviously. But it's also because I don't have any other NARS eyeshadows, so I don't have any repeats. I don't have any of them to compare with. If I had some to compare with and I thought they were much worse, well then maybe I would be saying something different. But the quality is there, especially in the dark colours. It is comparable to MAC and to Urban Decay, so I think it's an okay buy. It's a good buy. So if you're an eyeshadow palette lover, or if you're a beginner and you don't have any neutral eyeshadows, or you want to try NARS eyeshadows, well, I think this is a good palette to go for. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this first impressions video of the NARS Narsissist eyeshadow palette. I will be telling you as time goes on what I think of it and whether I'm overly impressed or not after a few more times of use. But in any case, I hope that these swatches and using the palette and showing it to you has been of any help to you whatsoever. So if you've liked this video, please press thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel in order not to miss my future videos. Thank you ever so much for watching, and see you in my next one. Bye!